But let's do a little bit more digging. And I dug up some things. And over the last couple of years, municipalities like Peoria, Springfield, Chatham, Morton, they've had, stricter massage licensing laws. Why? Well, they claim it's all in the name of cracking down on human trafficking. Okay. And they passed all of these ordinances at the local level in Peoria, Springfield, Chatham, Morton. And they're shutting down these illicit spa businesses. And that's why they say they want these ordinances. But is this the right approach? Do we need more government regulations? Or are we just adding layers of bureaucracy without really solving the problem? So we look at human trafficking, and this is an awful issue. We all agree on that. Human trafficking is absolutely terrible. But when it comes to solving it, we need to ask the right questions. We need to ask, what should we do? Should local governments be passing more ordinances to regulate massage businesses to get the job? Should we be doing that? Should they be passing more ordinances to regulate these massage businesses? Legal massage businesses are going to be getting the brunt of this. Or do we rely on law enforcement and the existing regulations to get this job done that we need done to crack down on illicit massage parlors? So he's torn here. State Representative John Cabela, who's on the front lines, law enforcement, state representative, a conservative state representative. His take, he's torn between two political instincts, okay? His desire for limited government and the need to stop bad actors. So State Representative John Cabela, he says, as a Republican, we're supposed to be for smaller government, less red tape. So passing these ordinances, is this actually the solution? But when it comes to businesses, that are shady like this, I support these kinds of ordinances. Sometimes it's a necessary evil, so more government. I assume the police departments would be able to handle something, even if there wasn't an ordinance in place, right? If something were to take place at one of these illicit massage parlors. But I don't necessarily believe that the city has to have an ordinance. That's what John Cabela says. And I respect Representative Cabela's perspective. He's right. As conservatives, we typically are for smaller government, and we don't want more red tape. We don't want more regulation. Yet there's a catch here. Some of these businesses are obviously up to no good. So how do you make sure that these are legitimate massage parlors and not fronts for human trafficking? So what do? Do we throw more ordinances at the problem, or do we lean on the systems that we already have? Because, folks, we've already got things already set up in place. We've got what's called the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, the IDFPR. They oversee licensing for massage therapists. Now, they're supposed to be the watchdogs, right? And they're supposed to investigate these complaints through a specific division. It's actually quite hilarious. They've got a division, and a division to kind of investigate these complaints. And it's just layers upon layers of bureaucracy. Let me tell you how this kind of goes. So the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, they are supposed to enforce massage therapist licensure through their division of professional. And remember, they're fully staffed. These bureaucracies are fully staffed. They're supposed to enforce this through their division of professional regulation, the DPRs. And then get this, there's another layer of bureaucracy here, the DPR statewide enforcement section. So there's a section from within. So there's a subsection of a subsection of subsection in government. Shocking. They do it this way, so that way there's a ton of state employees and they all get paid and they're all Governor J.B. Pritzker appointed and they're all his buddies, right? Now they're supposed to investigate complaints and alleged violations, which usually originate from the public, law enforcement, or other governmental agencies. So the city of Bloomington, the town of Normal, if they suspect a business is being illicit, they can lodge a complaint and they don't have to investigate. They don't have to pass an ordinance. They could just lodge a complaint with the state agency that's tasked with doing this already. So they're the watchdogs. They're already supposed to investigate these complaints and violations, and they've got the power to go after these bad businesses. But here's the kicker: most of the time, these investigations don't start because of an ordinance or because of a routine check, by the way. This starts because somebody in the public, law enforcement, or another investigation flags the issue. And then the cops go into the business, okay, because they receive a tip, a complaint from the public or from a victim themselves. In the case of Normal, they were called out for a complaint, and then the victim had disclosed she was a victim of human trafficking. Representative Capello said it himself. You can't just walk into a place and inspect it and make sure everybody's up to snuff with their licensing and things. You need a complaint or something to go in. You can't just go into a business and accuse them of human trafficking, right? You need something to go off of. And once something's confirmed, you shut them down, the owners go to jail, and it kind of depends for how long they're in jail. Now, here in the state of Illinois, I don't think you guys are, naive. Most of the time, you get a slap on the wrist and then you're out. And then these human traffickers, these owners of these massage parlors, which are just fronts for human trafficking businesses, they just move somewhere else, or other illicit activity, drugs, whatever, organized crime. They just get out of jail and then they go somewhere else. See, the problem is that these businesses don't just disappear when you pass an ordinance. If you shut them down, they might just move to a different town. If you pass an ordinance, it might just move them to a different town. What really needs to happen is strong enforcement and penalties. People who are doing this sort of stuff, they need to serve. If you enslave someone, why the hell are you not serving a prison sentence of 20 plus years to life? I don't know why that would be. I have no idea. Safety Act. Here we are. Do we really think local ordinances, more bureaucracy is going to stop these bad guys? I don't think so. I think that there just needs to be a major crackdown in law enforcement, and we need to get rid of the Safety Act, because probably under that is the reason why we're playing this game of whack-a-mole, because Peoria, Springfield, Decatur, all of these surrounding communities have passed ordinances, and it doesn't seem to be getting much better, right? Just seems like it's going to the town over. Now, let's look at the other side of the argument here. They want an ordinance, and I am not in any way disrespecting allies against trafficking. I think we can all agree that trafficking is bad. It's just the solution of how to combat it. I think we disagree on the executive director of Allies Against Trafficking. Not a nonprofit yet, I don't believe, but Nancy Bollinger had said that they were going to get a nonprofit status, and she's the executive director. And she's been vocal about these illicit massage parlors, and she claims that there were 14 illicit massage businesses in Bloomington, Illinois alone. Okay, that's not including Springfield and Peoria. She claims that there were 14, and then she's pushing the city council to have these businesses register, which they're already required to do with the state. Okay, and that would allow the authorities to verify that they employed licensed therapists, okay, if they had these ordinances. She points to cities like Springfield, Peoria, and Morton. They have ordinances like this, and they've closed several illicit spas. Since the ordinance, she says, since 2018, Springfield, Peoria, Chatham, Morton, they have all passed local ordinances to regulate massage businesses. Okay, but you're already supposed to register with the state, and they have a division where they're supposed to be following up on this. They're supposed to be, there's already a licensing process in place. This is just duplicative, I think, in the ordinances. And I'm all for combating human trafficking. I say, once you shut them down, you'll find out pretty quickly how they won't pop back up if you jail somebody for 20 years to life for human trafficking. Okay. That's what needs to truly happen, is just the law enforcement crackdown and shutting the bars and locking them up and throwing away the key. That's what needs to happen. Anyway, as a result of these ordinances, and I'm not saying the ordinances don't help some, they might help, considering this 11 illicit massage parlors were closed in Springfield, Illinois, as a result of the ordinances. I don't know, maybe it's just because the law enforcement had a fire under their butts after the ordinance was passed in the city, because the city's their boss, right? So maybe a fire was lit under their asses and they were like, we got to really crack down on these massage parlors in Springfield. And maybe that's what resulted in the 11 illicit massage parlors being closed. Morton also shut down 2 illicit spas. And this was creepy. One of these spas was like next door to a Kroger grocery store. So like these could look very much like a regular massage parlor, but like you go behind the curtain and then it's human trafficking, an illicit massage business. This is crazy. And, this sounds like progress. But again, the question is, are these ordinances really the solution? Or is it just a Band-Aid? After all, we have a licensing system already in place, and we have an enforcement system already in place. We have this whole division dedicated to making sure that these licensures or this licensing process is happening. Why are local governments creating more regulation if the existing system isn't being enforced properly? And we can't forget about the taxpayers with human trafficking. One Bloomington resident, he nailed it on the head, and we're going to play this here because this is really important. He was there at public comment at a Bloomington City Council meeting. Human trafficking doesn't just fade into the ether, right? They end up in the social services system. They wind up costing taxpayers. The victims. And when these people get out of these illegal operations, they often rely on the judicial systems, the healthcare systems, and they're draining the public resources, which is not their fault, right? That's why the public resources are there. But we've got to ask ourselves who's really paying for all of this. So the human trafficking issue, it's a really big issue. Okay, we want these people to be contributing members of society. That's why the social services exist. I'm not against social services, specifically for human trafficking victims and for people who need them. But we need to get this eradicated in our communities. And I'm sorry, but I hate it when government says, let's throw more government at the problem. We already have the laws in place. I don't know why the hell a human trafficker would be getting out of jail in the first place. 20 years, something like that is what I think is a perfectly fine sentence. Let's take a listen to this fella. His name's Paul Huberson. He was at the Bloomington City Council meeting. I think you guys will like what he says here, because what I really like what he says here is that, hey, this extends beyond police and government. We in our communities need to be the solution. So take a listen.
Thank you so much for this time that you're giving us. Me and my partners here are wanting to speak about human trafficking here in town. And just starting off, human trafficking isn't just a horrible thing for the impact it has on the human side and physical and emotional side, but it's also a very expensive problem just in our community. The people that are in it, they're not contributing to the community in jobs and families and in any function. And then when they get out of it, they're usually involved in the judicial or penal or healthcare or social services system. So no insurance, no resources. This is falling on taxpayers. And unfortunately, if they have children, they usually get caught up in this horror, and it just multiplies. We were involved in this mission a few years ago, and it expanded down in Texas. And I remember we were down there for a dinner, and the chief of police got up and spoke, and he was passionate about fighting this in his community. But he made a great statement that it's not a police problem, it's not a government problem, it's a community problem. So everybody needs to come together, including the citizens, on education, on enforcement, and working together to try and eradicate this from from your community. And it's a difficult one. It's not as black and white as violence or drugs or something like that. It goes unchecked, and it's tough to fight. And not to be too dramatic here, but in the 1860s, we fought the worst war on human life in our country, and it was against slavery. There was 4 million slaves back then. There's estimated to be 400,000 slaves in our country, and which is still 400,000 too many. So we're just wanting to stand up with our leaders in this community, the police force, and just come together and be a hub that could connect all parties to fight this issue. And in closing, I just like to say, as people can't be great if there's something really wrong with them. I don't think a community can be great if there's just something really wrong with the community. And this is something that I really, truly believe passionately that we have to come together and fight on and get it out of our community. So thank you again so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
Well, I think what he said there was wonderful. You know, he was a Bloomington resident. He went to the Bloomington City Council meeting and it made his voice heard. And we need to have a real conversation, folks. The solution isn't piling on more laws. Okay. And he's probably for that because he was with this group. It's called Allies Against Trafficking. And maybe it helped a little bit, but really what I think needs to happen is just this major crackdown needs to happen where we lock these people up for trafficking humans and enslaving humans and we throw them in jail for 20 plus years. You know, the solution isn't piling more laws. It's about ensuring the laws that we have are enforced. We have entire state divisions of taxpayers are paying for the state agency, multiple sections of this state agency to enforce the licensing process. And human trafficking is a crime and it deserves swift justice. And I really do believe if there was swift justice here and you went in and you did a raid, you collected the women, you put them in the correct social services and you locked up the traffickers for 20 plus years, I really think that would combat the human trafficking crime, because you'd be surprised. People are like, oh boy, they don't mess around here with human trafficking. I'll go to prison for the rest of my life. I'm not going to do it, at least not here in Illinois. You know what I mean? Because the cops are going to lock me up forever.